What's going on, everyone? We hope you had a great, relaxing weekend as we have a lot going on in the market right now. Bitcoin is still hovering right around that $100,000 mark. We have hot stocks like Tesla and Palantir rocketing to the upside, while there is some very interesting data going on in the options market, which we're going to talk about quite a bit in today's episode, as well as some of the recent developments going on in Syria. Either way, we have a lot to talk about in today's video, and we have some pretty interesting events on the schedule for the week. So besides that, Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot stocks right now, Mike. But of course, what is the hottest sector in the short term? It's the crypto sector. Last week, we actually did see Coinbase have a great move on Friday, up 7%. And I would say pretty much all morning, this stock was having a fantastic breakout, especially once it broke that 334 high of day. It went on a massive run. And even Bitcoin itself came back pretty well, right? We are still hovering right around that $100,000 mark, which is a good thing to see. And over the weekend, it stayed right around here. So I'm going to be watching this in the 99,000 support going into this week, and I'm just going to watch for that support to hold. And of course, we really want to see a good retest of those highs from last week, which is all the way up around a 104,000. So that's really what people are looking for here with Bitcoin, of course. And Mike, XRP has been slowing down a little bit, but over the weekend, it started to come back here over the past couple of days. So this one's definitely going to be on watch as well.
No doubt. Yeah, and believe it or not, Doge is also putting some good pressure on its highs. So the meme coins are definitely still doing good, which is good to see. And it definitely shows a lot of euphoria is still out there, which again is a good sign. But talking a little bit more about some of these hot stocks lately, like especially Palantir, this one is just going complete rocket mode right now, as it's at $76 a share and running up by the day.
Yeah, Palantir is beautiful. I love it. 6.22% in the short term, and everybody has been talking about what is going on with this company. And hey, I'll say this, the AI cybersecurity sector seems to be going haywire right now, especially with military applications and stuff. We just keep seeing new deals with Palantir, new things getting approved. We just keep seeing it, and they keep themselves in the headlines. And of course, traders are loving it as well. 6.22% on Friday. And like whenever you go back to the beginning of the year with Palantir and you start to look at some of the percentages, it's kind of mind-blowing to say that Palantir is up like 376% this year. I know that might not touch some of the cryptos or some of the crazy crypto stocks, but this is one hell of a good move, and people have been enjoying this run. Mike, you said you're a long-term shareholder of Palantir, right?
Oh, yeah. I love this company for the long term, and I'm very, very excited to see what it ends up looking like many years down the line. But this year's been a great one for sure, especially with Palantir. And, while this move is awesome to see, you can't help but wonder, like, when it's eventually going to slow down, because, this move is getting truly just insane.
It is, and I think a lot of people are going to start looking at $100 coming up, right? We're not really that far off. I mean, Bitcoin's at 100K now, right? We've been seeing stocks pop off. Who knows, maybe $100 in the short term, but I will say for this week, I'm going to actually be eyeing up $80 pretty well here on Palantir. Is a pretty good whole dollar psychological level to watch for, but another stock that is pretty wild in the short term is actually Tesla, and this one had a great move Friday, and we saw a ton of people booking some great day trades and profits on this one Friday on that end of day run. They're almost a $400 a share as of the after hours move on Friday. And I will say that $400 mark needs to be watched in the short term. On the Bookmap, there's a stack of 359,000 shares at this $400 area. So definitely have this area on watch this week. I will say I would not be surprised if it broke though, considering all this good momentum.
Yes, Tesla has to be on close watch this week, because not only is it getting very close to that $400 level, which is extremely important, but it's also extremely close to its all-time high. It's like 6 to 7% away. So all it really takes is, maybe 1 to 2 good days for Tesla, and it'll be right back towards that all-time high that it made back towards the end of 2021. So it should be a pretty exciting week, especially for these like crazy tech stocks.
Yeah, it should. And I will say there is a lot of earnings coming up this week as well that we'll talk about. Of course, it's not necessarily on tech, but we'll definitely get into that in a little while, Mike. But I know right now the market's getting very hot, right? People are loving this uptrend. And we've looked at skew a few times in the past. And right now, the skew's not looking too good, I'll say.
Oh yeah, big time. So as we can see by looking at this data here, the CBOE skew index is at all-time highs. Essentially what this means in simple terms is the CBOE skew index represents the price of put options relative to the price of call options. When this goes up, and considering it's at an all-time high right now, it represents that investors perceive an increased risk of a big downside move in the markets, which is why they are out here actively bidding up put options. Basically, when you see this value rise, and right now it's at an all-time high, it definitely sends a decent warning sign because it shows that put options are so much more expensive relative to call options than they've been at other points historically. And to be honest, I'm not all that surprised by this, given how crazy and euphoric the recent price action has been, not only with SPY, but in so many other areas of the market too. So it definitely makes sense, and it's definitely very interesting, and it's something definitely worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, and when I think about this, I'm like, well, hey, why would the puts be going up in value, right? Everything's going up. Like, shouldn't the calls be going up in value? But, I start to think about it. I'm like, there's probably a lot of institutional investors out there and other people like that starting to protect themselves, whereas I would say a lot of retail traders are probably still riding this big wave higher, right? And we've even seen a lot of big players start to sell out, like even Warren Buffett booking profits on Apple, right? Of course, Apple goes up and makes new highs right after he books those profits, but nonetheless, these stocks are pretty crazy in the short term. It is surprising well, I guess not overly surprising, Mike, but surprising in the sense it's like I would think calls would be worth more now.
Yeah, so it's all about the relative pricing between them, which is very interesting. And what it ultimately shows is just that, like you said, investors are, starting to protect themselves a little bit. And you can't entirely blame them just from a stock valuation sense, but also just from a broader, more geopolitical risk outlook side of things as well. There's still a lot of tensions going on all around the world right now. And this weekend was especially interesting as what CNBC calls the Assad dynasty finally collapsed in Syria as rebels claimed the capital of Damascus. So that was pretty interesting, and it definitely just shakes up the risk and tensions all around the world, but of course especially in the Middle East.
It really does, Mike. And I mean, this is pretty insane. The Assad dynasty, in their words, has collapsed, and it's crazy. I'm getting thoughts of World War III here. Like, hey, we're actually having countries and leaders collapsing, right? Now, of course, Syria and Assad, they've been having issues for a long time. So we have to keep that in mind. But it's very interesting to see this group HTS come in and actually take Damascus. That's a pretty big deal there. So Mike, it's going to be crazy on the side of oil, I think, for the next couple of days. Now, my thought is that with this happening, this might actually bring stability to that region, right? If they can get something figured out. But as we know, that part of the world never seems to be stable.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of tensions going on in general right now. So especially with these tensions, keep a close eye on the oil, energy, and sector and everything related to it. We can see crude oil futures on the chart, but also a ticker symbol of XOM. Of course, oil-related stocks like XOM, OXY, CVX, SHEL, XOP, and others all move with, just the oil industry in general. So definitely keep them on the radar. But as you mentioned towards the beginning of today's video, Tom, we do have some decent earning stocks on the lineup as well, which should make for a pretty exciting week.
Yeah, we definitely do. And even Monday, kicking it off right with AI and After Hours, Oracle, and MDB. Those three are going to be some pretty decent reports there. And then Tuesday, oh man, GameStop's coming back, right? We just had Roaring Kitty make that post last week, so we'll see what GameStop ends up doing here. And then Wednesday, we have Macy's and Adobe and After Hours, which is pretty big. And I even think Thursday is maybe the biggest day of the week with AVGO and Costco reporting in After Hours. So I would say actually quite a big earnings week here for, being the end of earnings season.
Yeah, Tom, if you had to pick one stock that you're watching the most for earnings this week, what would it be?
Oh, it's between AI and AVGO, but I think I gotta go with AVGO, especially just considering like how much hype has been in that sector and considering how much AVGO has risen. It's right around a recent high and resistance as well. So if these earnings are good, we could see a new all-time high here on AVGO.
Yeah, they move quite a bit, so that'll be pretty exciting. And I have to say, ticker symbol AI is also pretty exciting, especially as it just broke past its $40 resistance. And the past couple of trading weeks for this one has been pretty strong. So I think they're both going to be pretty exciting and definitely worth keeping on the radar.
Yeah, definitely. AI is nuts. Like in the short term, this little run from the recent low to the recent high is up like 60% in just a couple weeks. So we've definitely been seeing some great movement there. And even the economic schedule has quite a bit going on this week as we have the CPI data coming out on Wednesday, 1 hour before the market opens. And then we do have PPI data on Thursday as well. And then on Friday, there is export and import prices. But the main thing people are going to be watching is that CPI data on Wednesday. And they are looking for inflation to jump slightly here on the consensus and forecast by 0.1%. So we might see a slight uptick in inflation here.
Yeah, so Wednesday, 1 hour before the market opens, we will have important inflation data. Pay attention to this event because it will move the markets, and this data is important. So definitely keep that in mind for the week. But let's get right into some SPY levels and analysis. Tom, the market is right at its all-time high. I know there's not a ton of resistance overhead, but what are the key levels to keep in mind?
Yeah, I keep talking about in the short term, breaking recent highs and getting good breakouts going. And on Friday, SPY really tried to break the high of day from Thursday, but didn't really run too much and fell right back down at that 609 resistance. So I'm really watching 608, 50, 609, and then 610 as possible resistances. I do think that 610 will be a pretty big psychological level. So if we do break 609, you could maybe have a good scalp up towards that 610 point. There are some key supports though, especially from the end of last week. 607 to 606.80 is definitely a major support where we saw a ton of bounces. And then I'm even watching that 604 to 605 demand zone that we talked about a ton over the last couple weeks. So if SPY does pull back, I would really keep your eyes on that 604 level.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, the market is so close to its all-time high right now, which is great because it seems like every single day there's been a new all-time high that has been made, and it's certainly been awesome. But we're definitely at an interesting point right now where some of this recent price action has been I would say at least a little bit choppy in terms of SPY, where we have like a handful of tech stocks that are like truly leading the way. And, you know, when you look at companies like Tesla and Palantir and some of these big tech stocks like Meta and Amazon and others lately, it's been pretty explosive.
It definitely has, and I think that that's where a lot of traders in the short term need to be focusing on following the money, right? We say that all the time, and stick to where the money's flowing. A lot of people, they get stuck in SPY, and I'm like, hey, you know, even though the SPY's stuck, we have to realize that the S&P 500 is comprised of almost 500 huge companies, right? Tesla, you know, obviously some crazy ones that everybody knows, but of course we have to deal with financials potentially hitting the SPY, or even weird healthcare stocks, or Procter and Gamble, or Coke, you know, of all things. So you know, it's a little bit different with the SPY in that sense. So I would definitely stick to where the money's flowing, Mike. Like you said, some of these tech stocks are amazing. Of course, Palantir, Tesla. I'm glad you mentioned though even Amazon and Meta. I don't feel like that they've been getting the coverage that they should. I mean, Amazon's having 3% days here.
Yeah, they've been very strong. It just helps the overall market. And something I saw that was very interesting this weekend is this chart here that basically shows where the market is currently at relative to some historical bull runs. We could see that what I'll call relatively small red line all the way towards like the bottom left is what just seems to be in the beginning stages, especially when you look at some historical bull runs that we've seen, you know, in the past. We could see a lot of times bull runs can last from anywhere from a couple years to, you know, 12 years or even longer, like we saw with that uptrend that went from, you could say, the end of the 80s to the beginning of the 2000s. So pretty interesting data here, and it's definitely optimistic nonetheless.
Yeah, this is crazy, Mike. Some of these bull runs have lasted a long time. I will say on some of these bull runs, of course, there are pullbacks, of course, mixed in, so we got to keep that in mind. There's always going to be slight corrections and stuff, but nonetheless, this current bull run looks pretty good, and based off of these others, it's looking pretty promising, right, on the historical data. And we've seen a lot of historical data lately that suggests that this uptrend could continue. And so far, it's been a fantastic December.
There we go. All right, well, let's get right into some setups and predictions then. A stock that is definitely on my radar is BABA, B-A-B-A. This is the Chinese stock that has been pulling back a decent amount over the past couple of months, and it's definitely in the process of, trying to hold its ground and potentially see some good bullish price action come into play. I've seen a lot of bullish flow on the option side of things, not only with this stock, but other Chinese-related names. At the same time, these stocks have been uptrending in the broader scheme of things over the past year, and it has pulled back pretty hard over these past couple of months. I really like the overall reward to risk playing BABA right now and other tickers, where we could see BABA in the short term is right around this $86 level, where in the worst case scenario, a stop loss can be placed just under like that $83 area, with profit targets, ranging from anywhere from like, let's say $97 a share to even over 100. And if you wanted to push it more, you could even push it to those recent highs right around like that 117 to 118 area.
Gosh, Mike, yeah, that's looking great on the risk-reward side of things, especially if you use, that stop loss like you mentioned down around like 80 or 82. So I'll definitely be watching BABA in the short term off of this dip, right? I'm curious because I've been watching China stocks on the dip, and the big question is like, hey, is this going to finally be where the base is forming? And it seems pretty good. So I'll keep it on the radar for the week. With my first play, I'm looking at Peloton to the upside. This stock has been another one of those growth companies that has been very explosive over the past couple months, and they're actually holding well above $10 here. So I'm really looking for a break of the recent high. If we go to the hourly chart and we zoom out a little bit, it's been kind of stuck here. So if we could break above $10.60, I'll be watching it back to the upside for this week.
Awesome. Yeah, that stock has been doing pretty well over the past couple months. But another one that's definitely on the radar is Zoom, and it is also to the upside. This stock has been uptrending pretty strongly ever since it reported earnings back in August. Basically, it is putting more pressure on its recent highs and getting closer to retesting like some resistance, at least in the short term, right around that like $87 to like $88 area, which is nice to see. Either way, this stock has the ability to move in a strong momentum-filled way when it has when it's like putting like good pressure on its high/low. We could see that over the past couple of months, it has certainly been picking up its momentum, and it is coming up towards some pretty heavy resistance in the short term. So this one should definitely see an increase in volatility. Either way, it's definitely on my radar.
Yeah, I think it's awesome here, right at that $87, $88 mark. I'll definitely be watching that for a potential breakout right there. With my next play, I'm looking at Asana, A-S-A-N. This stock went insane with earnings last week. 43% on Friday, I guess, counting the after-hours move from that earnings move there. But, Mike, I'll be looking for a breakout above 23. With this stock, it's mainly a momentum play. We need to see a good earnings continuation. I'm glad to see it re-break back above $20. And Asana has been a stock that has been downtrending in the grand scheme of things as well. But you can tell in the short term, a lot of momentum's been coming back, as has been coming into many other of these growth stocks that have been beaten down. So I'll be watching for a good continuation following those earnings. It's just important to realize it's an earnings continuations play. So if we do not see good momentum, you're going to have to be willing to adapt and maybe even just do a no play if it ends up rejecting or turning back around.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's jump right into today's momentum plays then. And with the first one, we have OKLO to the upside.
Oklo going crazy again in the short term. If they can break above $22, keep watching them to the upside.
All right, with the next one, we have HIMS also to the upside.
Gosh, this one just does not stop, and it's at major resistance. So if it's able to break 34.80 to 35, watch it up.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Coinbase for both directions.
Coin, pretty crazy last week. Good double top around the end of the week as well. If it's able to break out above $350, which is a major psychological level, then watch it to the upside. But if I see a rebreak back below 330, then go ahead and watch it back down.
All right, so we have the downside level for a potential move to the downside. We have the upside level for a potential move higher. That's for Coinbase. And then don't forget about the upside levels with HIMS and Oklo as well. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential momentum plays tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels listed, the stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, then don't force the setups and be happy and more than willing to adjust and flow with the trend changes as they happen. The worst thing that anyone can do, especially when trading momentum-driven, volatile setups like these ones, is to bag hold. Don't get attached to the setups. Trade freely, trade smart, trade disciplined, and follow the money. So definitely keep that in mind. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $480,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol CAMT. On Friday, the big money put nearly $500,000 into the CAMT 65 strike call options that expire on May 16th of 2025. For my advanced traders out there, this is technically a call debit spread where they also shorted the 100 strike call options for the same expiration date. Either way, this is a bullish trade where the big money wants this stock to pop higher. I think this is a very interesting setup for multiple reasons. One, the semiconductor industry in general has been a very hot industry over the past year, and this company provides inspection solutions for the semiconductor industry. This stock has been doing very well over the past couple of years, and it has recently been in a phase where it has slowed down a bit and is now trying to hold recent support right around $70 a share. Assuming this stock can hold this level, it does have resistance right around 77, 80, 83, and 85. I think this is a very interesting setup either way, and I'm excited to see how this one does. And I also like how the big money bought such a deep in the money strike price.
Yeah, that's a good sign there, being deep in the money like that. And this is a great support on CAMT. If it keeps holding, there could be some great movement here. I am a little worried about support giving out, but it makes for a great risk-reward scenario, especially if you stop out somewhere under support. Of course, you could always follow the big money 100% and just follow them whenever they exit. But nonetheless, I am definitely watching that support, Mike. It's not the biggest big money play ever, only being $480,000, but I think it gives us a little bit extra confidence, like you said, with that strike.
Yeah, so very interesting nonetheless. So definitely keep this one on the radar going forward. But we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Dallas Hacker, who on Friday said, "I've been a member less than a month, and this has been the first week of substantial trading that I have done. And I want to thank everyone in the channel. Tom and Mike and the daily YouTube videos has been a blast, and I did pretty good this week and can't wait for next week. I can't remember the last time I didn't want a weekend. Thanks, everyone." There we go, and huge shout out to you, Dallas Hacker. Keep up the great work going forward and keep on rolling. There was a lot of great action, not only on Friday, but all throughout last week, as there has been a lot of pretty exciting movement lately. So it's been a great time to be a trader, and we really are set for an awesome 2025. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. In every single video, we cover the most important news, information, earnings, events, big money plays, and everything you have to know in the market. Besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market this week.